I've made a mention before of the real side Universal Universities that are established and in operation now, where individuals, the length and breadth of creation, all manner of body types and species, agreeable to step up and become more aware, are present, and being provided the real references, a real education in these universities by the real guides, Duane, and any other individuals who have the awareness to effectively qualify themselves for such a reference providing a position. Also, the universities are where many assignments are launched from, and I have shared a number of real side experiences previously, revealing this overall university operation and what takes place there. The universities are by invite only. They are not open to anyone seemingly, in that an individual simply can't walk in through the door, suggesting the universities are a simulated situation aside from the simulated creations. For anything we create from a consciousness, we effect into an overall simulator we share with all others whose consciousness is also a part of. Just like a multiplayer computer game, we take on the game's template that all players participating will do also, uploading the game to our computers, and so we share the same game overall environment, and we make the individual choices and decisions we do, but that which we create is always contained within the game's boundaries, so is accessible by all others potentially, just as it is with consciousness. What we create on the real side effects as a simulation, but within the overall simulator arena, the same simulator upload that all participating in this simulator have as their consciousness, and that we will then be sharing with, in addition to how they have developed their own created consciousness, a simulator download to consciousness in order that they can experience this particular simulated realm. The universities are simulated, they are effected from a consciousness like mechanics, but it's as though a consciousness engine that isn't a part of an overall simulator effecting a consciousness, as though in isolation, and so will not feature within an overall simulated arena, but rather has to be provided as an idea, a file, that if agreeable we install and are effected, inserted into the universities, etc. As I said, it's as though by invite only. The guides send us the file, the idea, we accept it, and there we will find ourselves. Some of the guide established operations, similar to the universities, are however those available and viewable by all in this simulator, as after all, the idea is to get the attention of all the personal self immersed and consciousness embracing, disconnected from their real awareness true state individuals. In this real side experience, I would find myself in what I will describe as a kind of sky city. Where it was located wasn't revealed, but constructed and elevated at such a position that it was not only sky-based, but practically among the stars. It was a vast complex of platforms and passageways, floating in the very air, as I said, connecting with various rooms that were utilized for sharing the real education and is pertaining references. So it was along the lines of the UNUversities. The sense was that it was potentially available for all, floating in a simulated sky in some dimensional area as it was, and so was a new development, at least new in the sense that my personal self had never been shown it before. As I wandered the complexity of passageways, walkways, and adjoining areas that had the appearance of lecture halls or theatres, and indeed, as I poked my head around one doorway, there would be Duane, preparing to share references and real education for a class that would soon be in attendance. We greeted each other, and then I had the inclination to reach a particular part of this construct. Seems it was, like the UNUversities, a live-in situation where new students could take up residence, if they so desired, for whatever duration they wished, and my destination would take me ever more skyward, along escalating platforms and passages. I would pass Val on the way up, and we also would exchange greetings. At the very top of this overall complex were the residential areas seemingly, and I had in fact my own apartment here, so suggested I had been here before, and this was the first time my personal self was being shown. Waiting for me in the apartment was a woman that Real Awareness Impressions revealed to be a guide. She was there to remind me that my rent was due, that I had left it to the last conceivable moment, and so it was necessary to catch up with my arrears and secure my position. This I rather construed as a possible indication of a focus and real intent that needed a little refining through the personal self, to align it more so with the real awareness, real intent of overall is recognition. That should this not be done, so I would effectively forfeit a position I had established for myself, rather perhaps drop down a notch, and this would be reflected on the real side with what I would be participating in, involved with, and allowed access to, including this new sky complex. The rent was symbolically that of earning one's way, I would suggest, paying in a sense for awareness that equates to greater positioning, creational, and ultimately real universes universally, that as we share and promote the ears, as we maintain the focus with the ears, This is reflected in equal measure with the extent that the is shares with us, and it seems here that the rent was due, that I needed to do a little personal self-alignment or take a few required necessary steps to generate further awareness. Anyway, the scene would switch, and although brief, it was rather interesting, as Jeremy, Kelsey, and myself were creating a kind of device that, as success with our endeavour became so, that it created a kind of energy or frequency beam that facilitated access to what seemed another dimensional position in creation, for a beneficial reason, as impressions suggested, but that the experience never made apparent as to the specifics. But it was as though we were opening a conduit that would allow for ease of a connection with whatever it opened up into. On the real side, through awareness, such mechanisms of connection and travel are not necessary, as our awareness is through everything, and we can be placed creationally wherever it makes sense to do so, with our assignments, engaging with the species and other individuals wherever they may be creationally and dimensionally positioned, etc. So this suggested more the application of technology were it necessary to make a contact or create a conduit from a set and established simulated life level position, perhaps indeed the physical, where we are more resigned to a limitation of the need for travelling, vehicles, spaceships, portals, etc., as established through the consciousness that our awareness is experiencing the effected simulation through the mechanics of the effected body forms that decode the ideas of a consciousness into a simulation.
Wow, that's great. It's one thing. It shows how the foundation is built for here. In case in terms of the university here on the real side, it's already formed. It's basically running an operation, and it just takes us in the physical to bring it down into the physical through people who are willing to do something. And just like Duane said with what I read before about it got started in the 1900s, the presentation that Paul and Duane were to bring out, and probably even earlier than that. I mean, if you consider all the lifetimes it took them to get ready. And then I'd mention too that what you talked about in the New Education show before this Skype, and then experience also that you shared a week or two ago about David Icke, and it's kind of interesting the marketing, that has to be done or allowed to be done in this earth to bring something of value out. And you shared that experience, Kevin, with the intergalactic games that you were involved in to maybe help us gain some exposure. And also David Icke was there, and his reward, you could say, he wanted was to have his material, be accessible to people on Earth, so that he would, have some fame, etc., and exposure. So it's all part of it, building the foundation, and then bringing it out, being able to bring it out here in the physical. It's a toughie, especially for something of value, something of phenomenal nature, or something, whoop-de-doo. It's easy, something kind of dumb, thrills and things they'll let out, but something of value. The controllers don't want that. That was great. I would like to welcome Johanna here from Tanzania, and he's part of the New Education University school that we have going, and he's growing trees and plants and doing really good environmental work in Tanzania, Africa. And he's here today, and he's using our new image, and he's promoting us on Facebook. So welcome, Johanna.